Don't redline all day long. Take a break. Take several intentional breaks throughout the day. Just don't redline all day long. As you can see, I'm not in my office right now. I prefer to take intentional breaks throughout the day by coming into my greenhouse or in my garden or taking a walk around this neighborhood. What is it for you? Are you taking breaks throughout the day, or are you just sitting at your desk and redlining all day long to the point where you're just stressed out? That's how a lot of people work. So this is one of the things we emphasize as a company. We found that paradoxically, the more we rest, when we take intentional breaks, the more productive we are. And this is part of having a successful 5-hour workday, is that it's a paradox. We take more breaks even though we're working less time. So this is something that you can do that will have a massive impact on your day that almost no one does. So my boss used to say, you can't redline a V12. I was like, what does that mean? Okay, so it didn't make much sense. He's telling us to slow down, not to work as hard. And when he's referring to the V12, he's talking about these like European cars, Aston Martins, Lamborghinis, that they have to be driven a really specific way. If you're just redlining them all the way down the highway, they're going to break. And he said, hard charging professionals like us are no different. We will start to get stressed out, and that stress will compound. It will lead to diminishing returns on our efforts, and eventually we're going to break. We're going to get burned out. And so our boss was smart. He didn't want us to go down that path of burnout and just feeling stressed out at the end of every workday. So in this video, I'm going to cover two main points. I'm going to cover why we should oscillate throughout the day, and I'm going to introduce an acronym I came up with, RPMs, to explain it. And then I'm going to go over how. What's the best way to recharge quickly? And spoiler alert, it's not with your smartphone. So why we should oscillate throughout the day and how. How do we take intentional breaks? So I'm going to start with the why by talking about ultradian rhythms. You may have heard of circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms are those long 24-hour sleep cycles. We know we have a long period of up time where we have energy, and then we have a lull where we sleep. Ultradian rhythms are similar, where we have long up, short down in 90-minute increments. So ultradian is about every 90 minutes. That is why, this is one of the main reasons why our time blocks are an hour and a half long and never longer than 2 hours. You start to lose energy and focus because of that ultradian rhythm. We have a natural rhythm of up energy and down. And that's why it's critical to take breaks throughout the day instead of just white knuckle and push through, because it creates a lot of extra stress and, again, diminishing returns on your effort. So I want to talk about this acronym that I came up with, RPMs. Think an RPM gauge on a car. So you obviously know when you're hitting that red on a car, and you're not going to be going down the highway and just leaving it in red and just redlining until smoke starts coming out of your engine. But we do that at work. We'll just keep pushing through even when we start to feel stressed. We start to feel it in our the anxiety in our for me, in my shoulder and neck, and it's not a good feeling. And some days we go like that all day long. So think RPMs. R stands for rest. And when I say rest, I mean taking intentional breaks throughout the day. The P in RPMs stands for productivity. Paradoxically, the more we rest throughout the day, the more productive we are. M stands for manage willpower. What you need to know about willpower is that it runs out like a battery. You don't have unlimited reserves of willpower. You're going to have the most willpower when you're well rested. And then stress reduction. RPMs S is stress reduction. I did not say stress elimination. There's a reason. The stress experts and the flow experts have all found that optimal flow lies just beyond your comfort zone. So you do need some stress throughout the day to kind of push you, but you don't need innervated stress, and you certainly don't want to be redlining all day long. So RPMs, just to recap, RPMs, rest, taking breaks, P, productivity by taking breaks, M, manage willpower. You have a willpower battery, you're going to run out of willpower if you just redline. And then stress reduction. We want to lower the amount of stress. We don't want to just keep increasing that amount of stress up all day long and redlining. So that's why we should oscillate and take breaks throughout the day. Let me talk a little bit about how. And I'm going to start with Cal Newport. I've talked about him before in the video I did on time blocking. Specifically, we use this term deep work time blocking. That comes from him, from his book, Deep Work. He wrote a great article called Deep Breaks, and he says that you should take short 10 to 15 minute breaks throughout the day, except for meals. Meals, you should take your time and obviously have a longer lunch. But the key, he said, is to not turn your attention during that break, not to turn your attention. And what he means is don't blow up your mind with external stimuli. If you know anything about Cal Newport, you know he's basically declared war on smartphones and social media. He has no social media. He only responds to email very rarely at very designated times, I think a couple times a week. He's extreme, but we can learn from the experts. So you don't want to turn your attention. That's key. And I want to give you some examples real quick. Keep in mind, it's going to be different for everyone. Everyone's going to have a different way. For me, I love to relax in the garden. I like to be out in nature. That's a way for me to relax. For other people, that might not be relaxing. There may be some other way. I've got a buddy that shoots hoops, basketball hoops, for 10 or 15 minutes in between every one of his meetings and time blocks. So it's very different for everyone. Some examples that I see around the office when I'm visiting our head office is a large number of people will go for walks around the building, around the neighborhood. Other people will practice mindfulness. So some people will go to a quiet room to meditate or pray or do breath work. If you ever listen to Andrew Huberman's podcast, he's real big on NSDR. He coined this term, I believe, non-sleep deep rest. So if you check that out, Andrew Huberman's NSDR, if you really want to geek out on a way to get really restorative rest, breaks throughout the day. So the key in all these, I already mentioned this, but the key is no screens. So no external inputs such as news feeds, social media, other technology. That's just going to blow up your mind. Think restorative. So you want your mind to recharge. One way you can think about it is a personal computer. Throughout the day, you're going to open multiple browsers. And let's say you've got 100 browsers open. What happens to your computer? It starts to slow down. It's not as productive. And when you take a break, it's kind of the same way. You want to close out all those browsers in your mind. Your mind's the same way. You got to close out those browsers to get fully restorative rest. So when you're taking these breaks, just make sure that it's something that really is restorative to your mind. You don't want to, another analogy I've heard is you don't want to shake the snow globe. I really like that one because you want your mind to be settled during that 10 to 15 minutes. You don't want to shake up the snow globe and just blow up your stimuli. That's going to defeat the whole purpose of the break. If you're just looking at your phone, it's probably, you're not going to get the rest, and it may even add additional stress depending on what's going on in the media and on your social media. So I hope this one was helpful. I'll be sharing an RPMs graphic that I had talked about. If you like a visual, hope this was helpful. Just remember, take breaks throughout the day, at least every 2 hours, 10 to 15 minutes, and don't shake the snow globe.